So the Tiger King documentary is taking the world by storm, and because of that, it is getting a live-action adaptation, and in today's video, I'm telling you guys who I believe should play these wacky characters on screen. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. The Tiger King documentary on Netflix is sweeping the nation right now. It's all anybody can talk about. I see memes. I see memes about the memes. I see people constantly tweeting about it. My review is on this channel right now, so if you missed that, go check it out. My wife and I binged this. Well, we started with episode 1, and I'm sitting back going, I don't know, should we keep watching? We decided to keep going. I'm so glad we did because it was such an awesome and crazy and wild documentary. But the main reason why it was that way was because the characters, or the real-life individuals that feel like characters, were so outlandish, so interesting, so divisive, and because of that, you have to cast these characters in a very specific and interesting way. Now, we already have word that Kate McKinnon is playing Carole Baskin. I'm still going to give you guys a fan cast for Carole Baskin. This is all in good fun, and of course, I need your comments down below. What is your ideal fan cast? We're obviously not going to agree, but these are the actors personally that come to mind when I think of these individuals. For some of these choices, I'll have 2 or 3. For some of them, I'll have some that you've heard all over the internet because it's very obvious, especially Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic is a guy that everyone is fan casting right now. I have 2 choices for him, and we'll get into what they each mean towards the end because he's one of the last ones that we do. But we're going to start off with one of the minor characters, and obviously I'm not going to be casting everyone because some of them are extremely hard to cast. But first, we have Travis. So the travesty of Travis Maldonado is one that I think needs to be encapsulated by an actor that can bring this sense of underlying emotion, but he is also just as, not exotic as Joe is, but he has to feel like he fits into this world. But like I said, he has to keep that reserved factor. So the actor that I chose to portray Travis is actually Shia LaBeouf. And not only because there is a bit of a similarity in the way that they look, but because of what I have seen from him. You look at a movie like Fury, and the way that he kind of carries himself reminds me of just the little screen time, because we didn't get a lot that we saw from Travis. But more recently, a film like Honey Boy, when he holds that emotion deep and slowly lets it out. And another movie last year, Peanut Butter Falcon, when he plays a character that's slowly coming to terms with the fact that maybe he does feel a bit more than he's letting on to. And that's the kind of person I see Travis as, and that's why I think Shia LaBeouf is a pretty good fit. Next up, we have the individual known as Dillon Passage. This is Joe's current husband, and this was a bit of a struggle. I was trying to think, okay, who slightly looks like Dillon, but who can also carry himself as this guy who kind of swoops in and saves the day after the fallout between Joe and his other 2 husbands, because he's the new husband, of course. Evan Peters. And it could just have to do with this particular picture. I saw that and thought, oh, the hair. The hair kind of matches, but it's not just the hair. A movie in American Animals, and I don't know if you guys have seen this film. That's what led me to believe that Evan Peters could kind of capture this character. Well, that and the obvious range that he has in American Horror Story. And it's not like he has a ton of screen time in this documentary, and I don't know how he would be portrayed in a movie. But I think Evan Peters has the range, and he also has the look to play Dillon. Then we have James Garretson, who is right now known as the jet ski guy because of the jet ski memes going around everywhere. But he was the businessman just caught in the middle of all of this madness, and he found himself playing on both sides, right? He's on the side of the law, but he's also on the side of our characters involved in this situation. So you have to have someone that can do that, but you also have to have a guy who is, going undercover and doing what he ends up doing, kind of unraveling this situation, but he has to look like him. And Paul Walter Hauser looks like him. I mean, he's lost a bit of weight here recently, but he is an actor that I believe could carry every bit of essence that James Garretson carries in this show. In the majority of the films that I've seen him in, he has this accent that I think would just fit perfectly, whether it's I, Tonya or Black Klansman, especially Richard Jewell. I look at the way that he portrays himself, and then I look at the character of James Garretson. I'm just like, that's It's too obvious. It's too obvious. Next up, we have Alan Glover, who is the handyman at the GW Zoo later on in the series, and he ends up going, quote unquote, to be the guy to take out Carole Baskin. And look at this picture of Michael Rooker, and then look at the character, or the human, I keep saying character, but the human, Alan Glover. They just look too similar. And then you listen to the way that he talks, and Rooker's, his voice is a tad bit different in the way that he carries himself, but I feel like he could absolutely capture that essence. And I'm not basing all of these off of looks, right? I'm trying to combine that and the talent, right? The fact that they can act, but Michael Rooker has both, and I feel like he fits Alan Glover perfectly. Just kind of the awkward nature of the way that he carries himself. Man, oh man, this may be one of my favorites that we're talking about today. Then we have Jeff Lowe. Jeff Lowe is the guy that comes in and kind of messes everything up for Joe Exotic, right? He is very much a businessman, but he's very much a guy that is shady, as is everyone else in this series, so you have to have somebody who can do that. And I keep seeing Woody Harrelson. That's a great choice for Jeff Lowe. And I'm like, I don't know how I could top that. And I don't know if this tops it. But Ben Foster is an actor who has just been consistently doing it, and doing it so well over the past couple of years. Whether it's a cameo in Lone Survivor, a lead in Leave No Trace, in my opinion, one of my favorite performances of the last 10 years, Hell or High Water, Ben Foster is a guy who can just sink into a role. And they would have to age him up just a tad bit, but I feel like he would be perfect for Jeff Lowe. One, the way that his chin is shaped kind of looks like Jeff Lowe. It's hard to find someone with that shape of a chin. But two, the fact that he can blend into any movie and play any character. And I think he could really work that beard. So Jeff Lowe, for me, that's Ben Foster. Then we have John, who is the manager of the GW Zoo. And it's just too difficult to stray away from what I've been seeing online. And I'll be frank with you. I'll be flat honest. I cheated. I stole it. It's Matthew McConaughey. There's no one else to play this role. I would love to hear if you guys have a recommendation, but I saw Matthew McConaughey and I said, just look at the facial structure, one, and then just the way he's so reserved and chill and slightly quiet, and there's no one else. There's no one else that could play this character, in my opinion. McConaughey would be perfect. He's a bit large in terms of how big of an actor he is, but this is a fan cast video. I'm not being logistical about who they're going to get to play these characters, but still, John, Matthew, congratulations. Okay, so Rick Kirkham, who was the producer of the Joe Exotic show, the guy who consistently wears the cowboy hat, and he has this very deep, gruffled voice that was just so hard to find one person for. And I've seen a lot of good choices online, but I actually ended up picking 3 different people for Rick Kirkham. I don't know who is the best yet, but I feel like all 3 fit in a different way. So the first one is Ed Harris. Ed Harris obviously has the voice. He may even be a bit older, but I look at something like Westworld. You even have the cowboy hat in Westworld, so I think it fits perfectly. William Fichtner, and you may be asking yourself, who is that? But you guys may know him from, say, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, an Armageddon, a Black Hawk Down, Crash, Drive Angry. He's a pretty big-time star, and I have the look, right? You take William Fichtner, you shave his head, and you look at the way that he speaks and carries himself, that reminds me very much of the character that he would be portraying in Rick. And then the final choice that I have is actually Billy Bob Thornton. And this is the one that I don't know if it would maybe fit acting-wise as well as these other two, but Billy Bob Thornton almost carries himself in real life like the character of Rick does. So I see that as a fit. So 3 choices. This one was really, really tough. I would love to see if you guys have another choice. I've been seeing Steve Buscemi online. The voice is a bit too different for me to get behind Steve Buscemi, but the look is absolutely there. Now for John Finlay. John Finlay is a man who is one of the more interesting parts of this documentary. Obviously, one of Joe's husbands. Obviously, he's known for the guy that's missing teeth, but now in real life, he has teeth, and, he's went and done interviews, this and that, but he actually chose this for me. Now, I didn't know this when I was looking up Channing Tatum as John Finlay, just to see if anybody else had come up with what I came up with, because I'm first. Well, no, actually I wasn't first, because John Finlay himself chose Channing Tatum to portray him. And you see that at first glance, you're like, oh, what? Channing Tatum? I point you in the direction of a movie called Logan Lucky. Also, the second Kingsman film, but Logan Lucky is where I really see Channing Tatum just taking this role and dominating it. He's playing a similar character. Maybe not in terms of morale, or maybe not in terms of how he lives his life, but the accent, the voice, the very just reserved nature, how he sits and he's very chill. A lot of chill people in this documentary. Channing Tatum is perfect, man. He really is. And the fact that John Finlay himself chose Channing Tatum is really cool. I think we're on the same page there. But I think he could really, really nail it, especially when you look at the accent. To me, it's perfect. Another one that's perfect is Howard Baskin. Howard Baskin, Carole Baskin's husband. Now, not the former husband. I tried to cast the former husband. We just didn't get enough from the former husband. But it's Jeff Goldblum. It's Jeff Goldblum. I saw a picture, and I don't even know if this was someone else casting on Google, because I was looking up, okay, who could play Howard Baskin? And I saw a picture of them next to each other, so I assumed someone else beat me to this, but there's no denying. There's no denying, because of how quirky Howard Baskin is. How strange. How can I say that? Is that rude to say? It's strange what they were doing in the documentary. I'm just like, oh, but then I remember, you even look at a movie more recently like Thor Ragnarok, obviously the OGs, the Jurassic Parks, this and that. But Thor Ragnarok, how crazy and wacky he is. I'm just like, yep. That fits perfectly. Then we have Doc, a.k.a. your boy from the Myrtle Beach Safari. One of the more intriguing and interesting characters from this show as a whole, and one that I had a time trying to cast. Now, everyone has been saying Matt Damon, and I can definitely see it. Matt Damon can fall into a role like that and crush it. I'm going to go with someone that I think a lot of people are actually choosing for Joe Exotic. But I'm going to go with Danny McBride, and here's why. I listened to an interview with Doc the other day, just trying to get a feel for his voice, and I kept hearing Danny McBride in his voice, especially a movie, This Is the End. The way that Danny speaks, the speech pattern even, it reminds me of the way that he carries himself. And then the look. I mean, if you change up Danny McBride's hair a little bit, obviously, and you give him a beard, I think he can nail the look. So for me, Danny McBride is a guy that can capture this. He's a good actor. He's an underrated actor, in my opinion. And obviously, you have to have a bit of comedic sensibility to portray a character like this. So for me, this fit is really, really good. I don't know if everyone's going to agree, but Danny McBride is my choice. So I know Carole Baskin has already been cast. It's Kate McKinnon. And honestly, at first I was a bit like, Kate McKinnon? Okay. But a young Carole Baskin, sure, I think that fits well. And obviously you can age her up, you can CGI it, but they won't have the budget. They'll probably do makeup. That's okay. But since this is a fan cast, we're not going to go with what is already there. We're going to come up with some new choices. And two that I think are a perfect fit. One is one that I saw. I'm going to tell you guys every time I cheat, right? Julianne Moore. Julianne Moore is a great... I just watched Crazy Stupid Love the other day. She's a great kind of quirky actress when she needs to be. She can also handle drama very well. I feel like she could do a really good job as Carole Baskin. But my choice is Allison Janney. Just watched her in Troop Zero. Obviously, I, Tonya, which is what she's known for. A movie like The Help, a movie like Juno, a movie like Hairspray. Allison Janney has just been consistently falling into these roles for years now, and I think she is one of the best and most talented actresses her age. Now, obviously, the issue with Allison Janney, she has the face for Carole Baskin, but she doesn't necessarily have the build of Carole Baskin. So we'd have to change that up just a tad bit, but the essence is there. The way that she speaks on occasion within some of her movies is there. I think she could capture the odd nature of Carole Baskin. We'll say that. And she has the range. So Carole Baskin is a character that is difficult to capture. It's like lightning in a bottle. You can't do it with just anyone. I think Allison Janney is the one to do that, even though Kate McKinnon is obviously, she's the one. Then we have Joe Exotic. This one is ridiculously hard. There are so many choices that people are throwing out there, from David Spade to Michael Keaton. The one that I am going to agree with, and this is my number one choice. Well, this is choice number one, not my number one choice. That's coming here in a second. This is Sam Rockwell. I saw this. I thought it was perfect. See, over the last couple of years, Sam has been consistently playing people that kind of have the same accent as Joe Exotic, kind of like that country guy who's a bit different than everyone else, and he kind of runs his own way. And Rockwell, man, he's just he's been doing it for a while. Three Billboards is probably the best example of him with that accent and him portraying someone that isn't all there. Not saying Joe Exotic is not all there, but, you know, Sam Rockwell could definitely capture that. And he's a great choice. But my choice is Daniel Craig. James Bond? What? Austin, what? Well, we have a movie in Knives Out where he has a similar-esque accent. He's also a guy with a pretty big build. You know, he can get kind of buff when he needs to, so he would have to slim down just a tad bit. But I point you, again, this is the second time we've done this in this video, to a movie called Logan Lucky. The white hair, the way that he carries himself, the way that he hunches forward and he's looking both ways. And also, you got to kind of a look at Channing Tatum, just what he looked like, the essence that he has. But Daniel Craig, I feel like, would be the perfect Joe Exotic. Not necessarily the way that he looks, but even then, you can kind of look at his facial structure and see how he could carry the hair, see how he could carry the facial hair.
I look at it the same way as it takes to make the thing positive versus negative.
And then you look at the way that he acts in Logan Lucky, and just the entire movie. He's crazy, he's wacky, he's over the top, he's a Daniel Craig that we've never seen before. But for me, that is my ideal Joe Exotic. Once again, not basing it 100% on looks, but just the talent, the accent. It's all there for the taking. So Sam Rockwell, Daniel Craig, two great casting choices for Joe Exotic. At the end of the day, we probably won't get any of these. That's why it's a fan casting video. But I had a lot of fun. I would love for you all to fan cast your choices down below. Who should play Joe Exotic? Who should play Carole Baskin? Are there any people that I missed? Obviously, I didn't fan cast everyone, so anyone that I left off, I would love to hear choices for that. If you enjoyed this special video and you like these fan castings, leave your thumbs up and be sure to comment down below. Let me know, what do you want to see me fan cast next? You guys are the best. I'll see you soon.